Hello everyone and welcome to the classic Spa-Francorchamps circuit for another Grand Prix of the 2022 Super League Championship. This is round 11 out of 16, so we're into the latter middle part of the series, and we're at our longest circuit now. It's a very famous one, and for good reason. This circuit has been holding various Belgian Grand Prix since before Formula One was even a thing. And there's been classic touring car races here, GT races, endurance races, even some motorbike races through the years. Spa-Francorchamps is one that every driver has circled in their diary. We have 15 minutes of qualifying ahead of us here before a 44-lap Grand Prix. And joining me in the commentary box for the first time this season is going to be Ryan Elliott. Ryan, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you for having me. First time back this year, and we've come right in at the tippy top with Super League. It's going to be a great race today. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. Of course, just a rundown of what happened last time out. Stefan Röhrl took his second victory of the season. That was at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where Maciej Munich and Yannick Bock rounded out the podium, swapping some points, with Munich finishing slightly ahead of Bock, bringing the championship lead margin down. And it's pretty close between the two of them now. Only 6 points separating them, and less than a position separating them in terms of average finishing position this season. So plenty can still change in that one, and we will be keeping an eye on those two drivers in particular today, as well as, of course, the rest of the field. I know that doesn't make it in particular, but you know what I mean. Is Philipp Puschke on a qualifying lap, and he will show us the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and who better to show us this fantastic circuit than a world champion of the past. Philipp Puschke down the Kemmel Straight. We've just been through the Radion corner, the Eau Rouge Radion complex, one of the most famous sweeping bends in Grand Prix racing. There's Le Camp, and then we go down towards Bruxelles, also known as Brussels, because I think it points in the direction of Brussels anyway. And then we head towards Speaker's Corner, which is now, of course, known as Jackie Ixbocht, although everyone still refers to it as Speaker's Corner because that is what it's been known as. Some people also call it No Name, which is doubly wrong now because it has two names. There's Pour, and we have a Piff Paff chicane, very funny little name for the corners that do also have official names, although I can't remember them off the top of my head right now. And then down towards Stavelot and Curva Pour Frere. We're into the latter parts of the lap now. The third sector starts about here, and I think the third sector is the shortest of the lot of them. Philipp Puschke, once he flies through the flat out Blanchiment and then breaks down to the slow, tight chicane, will complete the first flying lap of his qualifying session, if he can get the acceleration right there, because that is a difficult exit to a corner. And Puschke tips the times at a 1:44.255. So there is our first flying lap, and the pole time here will probably be the longest dry weather pole time that we will see this season. Ryan, what a circuit this is!
Yeah, absolutely. It's 7 kilometers of absolute madness. I think there's one very interesting thing to pick up on. If the graphic is correct, I think I just saw Milnek on mediums, qualifying on mediums. So could we see some people go for the one stop today? I'm not sure if it's multi-edge, guys. It might be, I'm not sure.
Now, it's only worth it for Munich if he qualifies inside the top 10, but you're absolutely right, he is on medium tyres there. If you qualify inside the top 10, which is what he will be hoping to do, then you have to start on that tyre. Otherwise, of course, everyone below 10th place has a free choice of tyres, and in that case, you might as well have just qualified on softs. But Munich obviously feeling that the mediums are the right tyre to start on for the strategy that he wants to execute today. And it also means that he almost definitely will not get pole position, but that doesn't really matter, because if he gets strategic pole position, then he will be just as happy. The difficulty, of course, is knowing exactly where strategic pole position is, Also out of medium tyres right now are Sandeep Singh, Thomas Harvey and Yannis Vorburn. So there are a few drivers out there, obviously not wanting to be forced to start on the soft tyres, which is what would happen if they qualified inside the top 10 using those soft tyres. 10 minutes to go now, Ryan. And we have Yannick Bock at the top of the times, followed by Daniel Stupkowski and Matthias Moos.
Yeah, so it's interesting that both Edge and HRT going for that strategy. Obviously, I'm pretty sure they're teams that work together. I'm also trying not to be very biased tonight because I am a team manager myself. My driver's currently P2 and P4, so I'm going to avoid trying to talk about them as much as possible. But yeah, they're taking a gamble, and let's see if it works. It could pay off big time.
Now we're looking at one of the Holland Racing Team cars, and I'd like you to take a look at that livery because that is not the one you see on the graphic. That is a special livery today because it is the closest that the team will get to Holland, since we don't race in Zandvoort or any of the other Dutch Grand Prix circuits. But that livery is specially designed to look like the livery used by Gerrit de Vries in an Indianapolis 500 race earlier this year, and is to celebrate Gerrit de Vries's long tenure with the team. He's been with the team and part of it since 2006. And is still going strong with Holland Racing Team today, and so they've decided to celebrate him with that special livery here at Spa-Francorchamps, and obviously doing it with a slightly unusual strategy of not qualifying using the fastest tyre possible.
Yeah, it's good to see people doing one-off liveries. Usually my team go for a pink livery for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's always nice, and I mean, a stint from 2006 in a team is absolutely incredible. You know, they must have something good going on there if they've all managed to, you know, still keep it interesting in sim racing. You know, GPV providing a great platform for people. I mean, there's some guys here who've been racing all the way from R Factor 1 with GPV. It's a great community, definitely.
Absolutely, and I'd like to thank Dethan Rutring for explaining the thought behind the Holland Racing Team livery as well. Okay, into the final 8 minutes of qualifying session, so we're about half the way through now. The times you see on the timing screen are likely to tumble. I'm not expecting that any of these drivers will have already put up their fastest times, but there's always a chance, of course. And Augustin Canapino has not set any time at all. 21 drivers have. Augustin registered 26th at the minute. Is Giordano Valeriano actually improving on the leader's time in the first sector and losing out in the second. But he is another one of those drivers who has yet to set a flying lap in this session, goes across the line, P17, plenty of room for improvement for Giordano Valeriano. And Philip Pischke, of course, was the driver who we saw starting off this session. In terms of penalties, I'm going to have a look to see if there are any, but hopefully what we see is what we get in terms of that. The last round, of course, was the Hungarian Grand Prix, and there were no disciplinary actions at that event. The only way that we are going to have grid penalties today is if drivers come back after missing a round or two, and they have outstanding penalties that they failed to serve before. But hopefully we don't have that, and what we see is what we get.
Yeah, it's interesting with qualifying around Spa. Everything seems to go really slowly because obviously it's a 7-kilometer track, so that it's quite easy to make a mistake, and the in-lap takes, you know, quite a while around here. So it's not like a usual short track where the times are constantly tumbling. We haven't seen that much improvement, especially at the front. I mean, the top 5 have stayed the same since the beginning of the session so far.
Absolutely, it's because it takes so long for you to actually get around the track, and as a result, it's obviously going to take a lot of time for things to change. You don't get that many opportunities in qualifying. Leon Bock's about to use up one of his. Across the line, slight improvement. He goes P4 with that one, so jumps up around the grid. Here comes Maciej Winnick on those medium tyres. This is a good lap for the mediums. Look at this. Across the line he goes, and it's still P10, but he did improve with that time. Got himself a little further ahead of some of the other drivers that he was close with, and it is very tight in that part of the grid, because despite this being the longest circuit on the calendar, you have to look about 10 places back for the next 1/10 gap between the competitors. And then he's only got about 800ths of a second to Tom Stevens ahead of him as well. Here's Thomas Harvey, P25, struggling on the medium tyres. I think at this point, it would probably be wise to go for softs, because I expect he will probably still qualify. He's on softs now. Okay, sorry. Yes, he was on the medium tyres, but Szymon and Frelik, our director, has just pointed out to me that he has switched onto soft tyres. And the thinking behind that would be that they probably don't have the pace to get into the top 10, and therefore, no matter where they qualify, they will have free choice of tyres, as will Hygo Poom, who is coming into the pits right now. Final 5 minutes of the session. This is where things start to get a little more frantic. We do have some of the leaders in the pits right now, but they will be setting up for one final flying run. They'll have just enough time to get around the circuit and then start another lap. And in fact, if they got out right now, they could probably do 2, but I doubt that anyone is going to want to do that towards the end of the session. Augustin Canapino still yet to set a time. He's the only driver out there who hasn't, but the Rolex 24 Hours competitor, that is the real life Daytona 24 Hours, rounding the final sector to cross the line and set his first time on the board. P15, not bad. That would be a point if he was to finish there in the race, Ryan.
Yeah, it's not a bad effort by Canapino there. It's also a good effort by Singh. He's not doing too bad. This is well, it's not really a debut for him. He's competed in Superleague before, but I think it's the first time. Oh, is it first time this season, or is it? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's not doing bad. And also another quick shout out, Chris Shepherd. He had a pedal failure last night, so he had to travel 180 miles to the OPP factory to get a new spring for his throttle pedal. So big respect to him. He's had a tough sort of week trying to get testing in, and he's not doing a bad job. He can race from there. I know what Chris is like. He always runs well. His tyre wear is always pretty solid.
That is quite some commitment. Now, if you're wondering why Sandeep Singh is on the road, that is because Stefan Rohr is not here, the winner from last time out. I expect he's probably on holiday because it's that time of year, although if that's not the case, I hope he gets any issues that he might be facing right now sorted sooner rather than later. But yes, I assume he's probably on holiday, as I will be in just a couple of days, so I'm very glad that I can make this one. Here is Philip Pushkit rounding Blanchimont, and this doesn't look to be an improvement right now. Yannick Bock, meanwhile, is improving. He is the provisional pole sitter, and he'll get one more lap after the one he's on now. Robin Panzer and Tom Stevens also in the top 10, also out there improving on their first sector times at least. Although we have seen a couple of drivers improving in the first sector times and then being a second or so down in the second sector, which is the one that's most based on high downforce and cornering ability and stuff like that. I've just been messaged by Stefan Rohr actually saying he is indeed on holiday, so I hope you're enjoying your holiday, Stefan, and I'm glad that you're watching along this race, even when you can't compete in it. Robin Panzer, little down in the second sector, only a little down though. This could still be an improvement. P6 gets himself up to the third row of the grid provisionally, and Alessandro Quinte, who he just demoted, will not be going any faster because he is in the pits. Out of the final corner comes Yannick Bock, and that was an invalidated lap, so Bock will, he's slowing, so he will not get another time in this session, and he is vulnerable to anyone behind who may be going faster. That does not include Giordano Valeriano, because even though he has a purple first sector, it's not a true purple, and he is quite a long way down in the second sector, I'm afraid to say. And even though his car is very well set up for the first sector, he seems to struggle everywhere else. So P18 for Giordano Valeriano right now, and that's not a criticism of him or whoever designed his setup. This is a very competitive league. Here's Michi Hoyer, it's going to be close actually as to whether he does start another lap or not after this, but I trust that he has planned it well. He's currently 8th in the times, about 0.7 of a second of the leaders. The drivers I really want to be looking out for in the late stages of this qualifying session though are Stepkowski, Moose and Bock, because those are the 3 drivers, I would say, Ryan, who are the most likely to snatch pole off Yannick Bock if anyone does.
Yeah, definitely. There seems to be a bit of a trend for the past few races in qualifying. The E-Team Hard boys and Matthias Muss and the box have been pretty up there for the past few qualifying sessions. It's good to see Wack doing a bit better in quali this week as well. I know he had a bit of a struggle last time out. Stepkowski did a great job last time as well, and he's keeping that good form up. They're having a really good run so far. But also, it's good to see Panzer and Hoyer up there. I feel like Mitchie hasn't probably qualified the best in the past few races, but he's always raced really well and made up positions. So if he's going to start any higher up, I think, if he keeps going forward, he could be on for a podium today.
And Maciej Winnick was the fastest of anyone in the first sector. He's not going to be on for pole here, but if he can cement his place in the top 10, that will give him a very good strategic advantage. Stepkowski and Buck are also improving here, and if we can, Szymon, could we see one of those drivers, that is Leon Buck, rather than Yannick Buck, who is of course in the pits. But the session is coming to a close, and it looks as if we are going to get some improvements in this time potentially, but will it be enough for Stepkowski or Leon Buck to take pole position here today? Masciuli goes up to P8. Oh, and Winnick's made a mistake in the second sector and he's dropped out of the top 10, so it has not worked for Maciej Winnick at the end. He has lost a second on that time, and he will not start within the top 10. Leon Buck out of the final corner goes provisional pole. It's a Buck 1-2 provisionally, but what can Tomasz Wok do? He's coming towards the chicane, a little down in the first sector, improved massively in the second. In fact, his second sector time was 7 tenths up on the leader. Here he comes across the line, and it's down, and it's a long way down. What happened to him in the other sectors? Oh, his first sector was miles off. Okay, well, Tomasz Wok, I'm afraid, it looked good, but it wasn't to be. And actually, Winnick improved in the third sector enough to put himself 10th. My goodness, I was not expecting that, because he lost over a second to the leaders in the second sector and still managed to qualify within a second of them overall. Amazing stuff from Maciej Winnick at the end there. But it is going to be an Evolution Motorsports 1-2 and a 1-2 for the Buck brothers, with Leon starting ahead of his brother Yannick.
Yeah, another smashing effort by the Evo boys there. That was it got a bit hot at the end there. I was talking about how boring it can be for qualifying around Spa, but towards the end there, last minute, just got really exciting. I really thought that Wack was going to take it. His second sector was unbelievable, but just didn't make it work in the first and the final sector, unfortunately.
Indeed. So fantastic stuff from the Evolution Motorsports drivers. 1-2. Your guy there, Daniel Stepkowski, third place. Very good effort from him. Matthias Muss is fourth, and then it's Tomasz Wok, Robin Panzer, Alessandro Quinte. Good qualifying for the Pescara driver. And I'm going to sneeze, so please take over, Ryan.
Yeah, followed by Adam Maguire and Mitchie Hoyer. Good effort in P8 there. Eros Masciuli just sneaking into the top 10 there as well. That's really good effort for Eros there. And there we go, Maciej Milnek, I believe, on the medium, so that could be a really good strategic call for him there. Followed by Tom Stevens, Chris Shepherd, fantastic effort considering what happened last night. Followed by Yanis Walborn, Thomas Harvey, both of them not quite paying off on the mediums. I think both switched us off in the end, with Jeffrey Fournier behind, just inside that points paying positions. With Ruben Macheda, is that how you pronounce it? Machete, sorry if I butchered that. With Sandeep Singh coming in 17th in the number 1 car, and then Agustin Canapino and Gerardo Vallerino. I'm so bad at pronouncing.
Nice try.
Yeah, good effort. It's all about trying, isn't it? With Jan Dragoon coming in 20th, Philip Pushka, former champion, 21st, Jukapeka Lalu, 22nd, JP. Fabio Sixter, former winner, had a great qualifying last time out, coming in 23rd this time. With Dan Brewer, he's going to go forward, he always does in the race. And Hygo Poom rounding out the grid, 25th.
Well, I do hope that Fabio Sixter can complete this race, because of course his last 6 or 7 races have been DNFs, and most of those have been due to connection issues, including the one that happened last time while he was running in a fantastic P3. Now, Winnick did actually drop out of the top 10 in the end there. The thing that confused me was that Giordano Valeriano left the... wasn't Valorano, was it? It was Alessandro Quinte, a different Italian, who left the server, and as a result, on my timing screen at least, he was elevated to 10th place, but he did indeed qualify P11. A couple of drivers have left the server. Hopefully everyone can make it back in time. I have definitely noticed some issues with R-Factor 2 recently, where when the session changes over, it kind of kicks you out sometimes if your connection isn't 100% up to scratch. But anyway, should be relatively quick to join back in. But yes, Evolution Motorsports and Leon and Yannick Bock have been on form recently. Leon picked up his first victory in the Super League at the Austrian Grand Prix, and he's had a few other podiums in the season. And Yannick Bock is on a streak of 5 straight podiums, including a win at the Canadian Grand Prix. So Evolution Motorsports right up there. They are leading the team's championship by 21 points over Edge Esports. And then, of course, a massive gap back to the rest of the field in the team's championship. Let's talk drivers' championship quickly. Yannick Bock leading that by just 6 points over Maciej Winnick after the last round. Winnick gained points by finishing second in Hungary. Then Leon Bock is third in the championship. Daniel Brewer is P4, then Stefan Rohr P5, although unfortunately he is very likely to lose that place today, chiefly to Thomas Harvey, who is only 6 points behind him. And then Matthias Moos, P7 in the championship, Daniel Stepkowski's P8, Tomasz Voch, P9, and then Jeffrey Fournier, P10 in the standings. In terms of the teams, of course, I've already pointed out that Evolution and Edge are the teams to look out for. VBM Esports are third in that, although quite a way back, partly due to the switching of their second seat between Adam Maguire and Lewis Bickers, partly because they didn't have a driver in the second seat at a couple of the rounds of this championship, and also partly because of some inconsistency between their drivers. Holland Racing Team are fourth in the championship. They, of course, the team who have brought the special one-off livery for today. And then E-Team Hard are fifth in the championship, partly as a result of Stepkowski's pretty nice P4 last time out. So that's how the team's championship stands. And I would update you on the development race, although it's always difficult to tell who is actually ahead out of that, because the site is not always 100% accurate, so I don't want to be delivering misinformation or whatever. But like I said, it's likely that some of the drivers near the front of some of the teams near the front of the order have the best cars right now, including Edge Esports and Evolution Motorsports. Ryan.
Yeah, that's the beauty of GPVWC Super League, is the whole development side of things. And obviously it's not just the development of your car. Not everybody gets the same upgrades. You can pick and choose upgrades. You have different staff that perform better in certain areas. It's all the whole bidding game. It's definitely the USP for GPVWC. It's so exciting. You never know what's going to happen. Some people go longer with upgrades, trying to get higher percentages. Some people plan them. Say you have a home Grand Prix and you really want to do well at a home Grand Prix, somebody might stack up their upgrades for that. It's just, you never know what's going to happen until that graph gets posted. And it's amazing. It just makes this league just something special. And there's been such a diverse range of upgrades this year as well. In the past, it's been quite common. A lot of people work in groups of like 2 or 3 teams together. And they all sort of follow the same trend. But this year it's been quite diverse with upgrades. It's been really exciting to see what other teams are doing and learning off them as well.
Indeed. Actually, you probably have more of an inside look at the development race than most of us, being a team manager. What can you tell us about that? Who's looking strong right now, and what are the unique factors that should help them here at this circuit?
Yeah, so now we're getting towards the end of the season. A lot of teams are probably starting to slow down. Especially some of the newer teams like myself. We're technically still classed as a first-year team. But in terms of upgrades, I've got the chart here. The obvious people, standouts at the front, would be Edge, HRT, right up there, Red Archer, Burst, all these teams like that are quite established, been around for a while. They're sort of leading the way, and Evo, obviously. But then some of the other teams like Adonis, MDR, Stack, sort of trailing behind now. That might be that they've stopped, haven't done an upgrade for this round. They might be building up for an upgrade next time out. Again, we don't know. We only know what we're doing ourselves, or if we have a partner, like we partner up with Red Archer. We can only kind of see what's happening between our 1 and 2 teams, but people have gone. Originally, people went in a lot of different directions. That sort of started to come back together now. Like I remember, I think it was Evo sort of set the trend of going with the transmission route, and that's definitely really helped them at some of these tracks, such as Spa, with such long straights. But yeah, there's so much testing goes in, and certain upgrades feel better for certain drivers. I mean, between my drivers, they both wanted to pick different directions, but you can only go one way. So it's really, really, really interesting.
Yes, indeed. We have lost pictures on the broadcast, so apologies about that. But our broadcast director, Szymon Frelik, is pushing hard to try to get those back for you, and hopefully they will be back in time for the race. Just looking through the YouTube comments, Josh Downard saying MDR got a shout out. Yes, indeed. I was really. It was a big shame to see MDR leave the series earlier on in the championship. I hope everything's okay within the team there. But yes, we are missing you guys, and at least Josh, of course, has his foot in another door with Nova, who are doing very well in the FS1 right now as well. Owen McGorgie's in the YouTube chat. Hello, Owen. Good to see you. Speaking of Nova, of course, Owen racing for them in FS1, and a couple of people asking about. Stefan Rural, yeah, indeed, he is on holiday right now, or vacation, or however you like to say it. Hey Ryan, Lee Davison saying, is that Ryan with many, many A's? What do you want to say to Lee?
It is me. I know it's probably quite weird to see me on comms, but I usually prefer to be driving a car, but I'm nowhere near the talent of these guys, so I thought I'll stick behind the mic for this one. But yeah, Lee's used to putting up with me in endurance races, just non-stop talking. I don't like the silence. I like to just be talking the entire time.
I don't know how you say you don't have the talent for this, Ryan. I remember racing against you in ITC Div 2. God, that was a long time ago, but you had the pace there.
Anything with a roof on seems to go well for me. Anything single-seater, not so. I don't know if you remember my half-a-year campaign in Superleague Lights. It just didn't go well. Didn't suit me whatsoever.
Fair enough. Well, you're still better than I'm doing in FS2 right now. Back to the session. Oh, well done, Szymon, getting the cameras back for us. Very, very nice. Szymon Frelik, our broadcast director, working hard behind the scenes as we're talking. Back to the YouTube chat while we're waiting as well. Carter McColeman, hello, good. Carter, of course, team boss of TCS Off Racing, who are currently competing in FS1. Tom Parker there as well, former Super League driver. Yes, plenty of names that I recognise. Tom Parker saying Div 2 was lit. Was lit. My last GPWC win, my only GPWC win came in ITC Div 2 at it was race 3 at Sydney in 2019, and I started 4th on the grid, and I got up to the lead on the first lap, and then I never looked back. And oh my goodness, I still ride that high. Not gonna lie, I still ride that high.
I don't blame you. ITC Div 2 was unbelievable. I mean, it was just tin tops in general are just hilarious. I also noticed that Christian Zuana, or again Jadona, putting in there. I heard Ryan is quite handy in tin tops. I'd like to think so.
Well, you race tin tops in real life, right?
A little bit. We do a little bit of racing every now and again.
You shared a racetrack with my brother, I believe.
Yeah, I did. I've shared it twice with Peter.
Yeah, good stuff. Sorry, I know we're going very off topic right now, but that tends to be what
How did we
happens.
How did we end up on ITC Div 2? This is
Because it was
GPVWC
amazing.
League.
And everyone wants it back. I mean, I always say I think we should bring back Div 2 specifically. Ignore Div 1, just bring back Div 2 with the original
Agreed.
cast, the original teams, everything. Fantastic. I'm joking, of course, but it would be lovely to see touring car racing returning to GPVWC. Super League, though. Super League is our figurehead series, always has been, and probably always will be, and it is great stuff. We are about to see the checkered flag on this warm-up session. Fastest in the warm-up session is Adam Maguire, who returns to the VBM Esports team today. He's been sharing that car with Lewis Bickers throughout this season. It's been a little bit of a revolving door, although Adam, of course, earlier on in the season looked to be a championship contender. He won a race, and he's currently spinning into the runoff area, but it doesn't really matter because the qualifying session has come to an end. Maciej Winnick will start from 11. Sorry, the warm-up session has come to an end. Maciej Winnick is going to start from 11th on his medium tyres. From an outsider's perspective, it may look like Maciej had a really bad qualifying session, but actually he did about as well as he could do, and qualifying 11th on the medium compounded tyre is not easy by any means. He saw a bunch of other drivers, both of the HRT drivers attempted it, and they could not manage it. They were languishing outside of the top 20 until they gave up and bolted on the soft tyres. We're waiting, it seems, for Alessandro Quinte, who once again appears to have left the server, and Eras Masculi is letting us know that he is attempting to rejoin right now, and sometimes the race director waits for people in that situation. It really does depend on if we're running late already, or if there are multiple people out of the server, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens in just a few minutes' time. And yes, indeed. I'm getting confused distracted by the YouTube chat again. Carter McCorman saying #bring back ITC. Carter, with the reputation you had with me in ITC, I'm not sure you want it back. I kept crashing into Carter's drivers like all the time. Adam Hodgkinson in particular, I seem to remember. We collided something like 6 times in one season. And Kierit DeVries also saying #bring back Atlantic series. That was the IndyCar series they did back in, was it 2015 maybe? Crazy stuff. I hear all sorts about the Atlantic series. Everyone either loved or hated it for different reasons, but I hear it was absolutely crazy. Some people still talking about the legendary MDR team. Adam Maguire, Jake Dennehan all getting shout outs in the YouTube chat. And Carter McColeman saying, go Jan and Ruben, 2 very exciting young drivers. Jan Dragoon, who is more experienced in Assetto Corsa and is still accustomizing himself, I don't know if that's the word, to R-Factor 2. And then, of course, Ruben Machete, who is currently fighting for the Formula Sprint 2 championship and is making an outing in Super League because he is literally that good. Yes, Carter, I might well have lost you the ITC championship. I am so sorry. But admittedly, some of those collisions weren't my fault. Some of them weren't. So you can't deny that.
Hey,
anyway.
I won that championship. He didn't. I won.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm saying maybe if I hadn't crashed into Adam so much, it might have been different. But okay, we're going to stop talking about ITC Div 2 now because we are 20 seconds away from the formation lap of a Super League Grand Prix. And once they get away on this formation lap, we will be able to run you through the grid once again. A slightly muddled up grid as a result of some adverse strategy, such as what happened with Maciej Winnick going on the medium compound of tyre. And away we go. So let's take a look, if we can, at the starting order. So here we go. Leon Bock leading from Yannick Bock, and then Daniel Stepkowski and Matthias Moos. It's an all-evolution 1-2. And those two are brothers, so will they be able to cooperate, or will sibling rivalry get in the way? Thomas Fock is P5, then it's Robin Panzer, Alessandro Quinte, and Adam Maguire. Adam, a winner earlier this season. Michi Hoyer P9, Eras Masculi P10, then Maciej Winnick, championship leader, going off P11, just ahead of Tom Stevens. P13 will be Chris Shepherd, then it's Yanis Forburn, Thomas Harvey, and Geoffrey Fournier. Harvey would have been hoping for better than that, with the driver ahead of him in the championship not making it to this round. Ruven Machedi is P17, and it's Sandeep Singh, Augustin Canapino, and Giordano Valeriano. And that is the top 20 of the grid, so 6 more cars to go. Jan Dragoon, Philip Pushke, Jukka Lalu, and Fabio Sixter, who I'm surprised to see qualifying that far down. And the final 2 cars on the grid, also drivers who will be slightly disappointed with their starting positions, Daniel Brewer and Hygo Poom. So 44 laps ahead of us. That is the fewest laps of any Grand Prix, although of course that is because we have the longest circuit here. The leaders will be hoping that means there will be less traffic here today, although of course incidents could make that slightly redundant if they occur. And at Spa-Francorchamps, anything that can happen might well happen. So we shall see. Ryan, the nerves are building, and we're about to see a GPVWC Super League race at Spa-Francorchamps.
And it's going to be a good one, I'll tell you that. There's a couple of things I've noticed as well, just as I was checking my notes. Good effort by Sandeep Singh there. Obviously 18th place, but he's only got a 35% engine as well. Obviously majority of the grid choosing to go 100% engine round here for obvious reasons. But yeah, they haven't put the best motor in the back of that car this week, and he's done a good job with it, to be honest. Like, if you can get points, I think that's a great standing. And another thing, a little shout out to Nikos from Minotaur. Is the Minotaur top 5 in qualifying.
Good spot. Good spot.
Be over the moon with that.
Very good. Yes. Okay. We don't talk about engines enough. I really think that the teams should be obliged to have their team names end with their engine supplier. So Evolution Motorsports Minotaur, for example. I think that would make it so much easier for us commentators and fans watching along. So it appears the Minotaur engine has an advantage here today. They have supreme straight line speed, and this is a power circuit. Here's Daniel Brewer in the VBM esports car. Also a winner earlier this season, although does tend to struggle with qualifying. This final corner here, in my opinion, the hardest corner on the circuit. It doesn't look too daunting, but when you accelerate out of that, the car just does not want to behave. There's a bit of a crest of a hill there, and it's the place where you least want it. 5 red lights at the front of the field. They will light up one by one, and when they go out, we will be underway. I'm afraid we've had a DNF already. Hygo Poom has not made it to the starting grid, so he will not start this race. 4 lights, 5 lights, and it's go! 25 cars shoot off towards turn 1. A good start from the Pescara ADG car there, and it looks like Leon Bock is going to maintain the lead. And doesn't... Oh, and there's a collision further back. There's cars all over the place. One of the Burst Esports cars was involved, as well as one of the Pescaras. Robin Pansar has gone to the back, and Alessandro Quinte was also involved after a very good start. I think there might be a VBM missing a front wing, and I think it is Daniel Brewer. There's a big crash for Tomasz Vok. I'm so sorry, Ryan, but I'm afraid one of your drivers is out in a very fiery mess already. So we have one of the Team Hard cars running, but they are in 3rd place. That's Daniel Stepkowski. So the order is Bock, Stepkowski, Moose, Maguire, the top 5. And the big losers on the first lap were Quinte, who's down to 16th, Panther, who's down to 24th, and and Tomasz Vok, who ended up with 2 or 3 wheels left on his car and a big fire coming up the back.
That was a very interesting start. That Pescara car absolutely flew off the line. That was it. Honestly, it looked like it could have been a jump start, but yeah, really unfortunate. It seemed everyone got a bit tangled up. It was like 4 wide coming out of turn 1. Walk on the outside just sort of got collected, and then something happened through Rouge Radion, which we didn't quite see on camera. We could just see it in the background, but apart from that, everyone's keeping cool for now. They just got to keep in the train, save the push to pass, and just trying to keep going forward. Let the strategy come into play.
So what happened happened was that Wok was involved in the early collision. He got a big hit in the side, and then as he went up through a Rouge Radion, his car just lost control. So I can only presume that there was heavy damage to his car, and he slammed the barriers. That's one of the nastiest accidents that you can have. So luckily it's sim racing, and he won't have wrenched anything in the process. Anyway, my apologies. Into the pits at the end of the first lap came Jeffrey Fournier, and also Daniel Brewer, who is missing his front wing still. There's a lot of debris lying on the exit of turn 1. Robin Panzer lost his rear wing as well. He was the car that got flicked around. Michi Hoyer is losing place on the straight. Winnick's up to 6th. Winnick from 11th on the grid has avoided the chaos. He was going to be the next car that I checked, actually, to see if he had got through it, and he has. He's up to P6 in this race, and has a very, very good chance of a very, very strong race today, Ryan.
Yeah, also want to look at Adam Maguire in P3 from P8 on the grid. That's, you know, some guys here are moving forward really quickly. Obviously, Maguire's mid positions there, like, genuinely, like, obviously Milneck's capitalised on a few people going off, but Maguire's done a hard charge at the start.
So it's now Buck, Maguire, Stepkowski, Moose, with Hoyer losing a couple of places, and Hoyer down to P7 as we speak, although still a pretty good position to be running in at this stage in the race with a long time to go. Next lap, of course, we will have DRS active for the first time, and DRS has a massive impact here with the long straights such as the Kemmel. There are 2 DRS zones that I can think of off the top of my head, and those are the one heading down between the final corner and the first corner. They won't get DRS there this time, and then the second DRS zone is the one on the Kemmel straight, and that is the one where you really want to make your overtakes. You do not want to make a move into turn 1, because even though it is a medium length straight followed by a tight corner, so you can make overtakes there. You really shouldn't, because then you are so vulnerable up the next couple of straights, and you are more than likely to get mugged by the end of the Kemmel. Leon Bock activates DRS. Adam Maguire is to his outside now. They are side by side for second in the race. They're banging wheels, and Maguire holds on. Maguire holds on and goes through to second place. They were rubbing all the way through the chicane, and Maguire almost forced Leon off the road. But then again, you could argue that Leon almost forced Maguire off the road just before that. Adam Maguire is up to P2, and he splits the evolutions.
Yeah, he had to do that. He had to jump early. Obviously, the box were planning to just hopefully work together and drive away, but he's really thrown a spanner in the works for them there. I think they thought they were going to get off easy with it. But he's up, what's that now? Is that 6th places he's up on his starting position? He's got a point to prove today. Obviously, he's been in and out this season a bit. He has had 1 win, but he's wanting to prove that he can be a regular winner whenever he gets put in that car.
And he was the fastest driver of everyone on that second lap. Now he's probably going to be even quicker on this third lap, or at least he would have been if they hadn't tangled. He might still be, to be honest, with the amount of slipstream that he got and the addition of the DRS. It almost looked as if Bot didn't activate his DRS, although he did. Yes, he did, because I couldn't see the Mind Trip sponsorship on the, or Minotaur, I don't know why I read Mind Trip, Minotaur sponsorship on the back of his rear wing. Yeah, he is opening the DRS down the straight. It's just that Maguire was coming from so far back that it looked as if he was in a whole different class of car that time around. They're going to do it again, lap 4 out of 44 of this race now, and Leon will attempt to slipstream his way back past, but he's a little way back, even further back than Maguire was a lap ago. So I think Adam is relatively comfortable on the straight this time around, although the DRS train extends right back into the field. Yannis Vorburn gets up into P10, passing Eros Masculi there, and that means that we now have one of the unfamiliarly liveried HRT cars running in the top 10 in this race. Remember, the top 15 score points later on, but it's still way too early to be talking about that. Luckily, no one has been badly affected by any incidents or whatever since the first lap of the race. Brewer, Fournier and Panzer were the drivers who came into the pits. Wok was the driver who retired, but the second and third laps have been completely clean, and long may that continue, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a bit of a dark horse in all this. which is a massive mill neck, man. He's on the mediums. These guys need to pull out a massive gap because he's got to go for a one stop. I assume that's what he's going to go for. So everyone around him has to pull essentially. I don't know what the pit delta is around here. It'd be in the 25, 26 second range maybe. On him. That's what I have to pull on him. That it's just. It should be day done. He could just cruise. He just needs to push the pass, save his tyres, and it should be pretty easy running for him. But yeah, we're 5 laps into the race now. Everything's starting to calm down a little bit now. I think people are starting to get into the rhythm, settle down a bit. And say now it's time to wait for the strategies to kick in. Who's going to undercut? Who's going to overcut? Let's see.
Indeed, lap 5 of the race now. We apologise for some slight difficulties with the stream. Shadow is not exactly playing ball today, but we will continue trying to monitor and fix that if we can. Thomas Harvey to the outside of Eros Masculi now. Around the outside, that would be quite a move if he was able to pull it. There's another right-hander here, and he's still got the drive. Like, he's still alongside him, and he gets fully ahead. Great move there from Thomas Harvey. Passes Masculi just like his teammate did a few laps ago, although even more ambitiously. Now, unfortunately, Alessandro Quinte, who was involved in that first corner accident, has given up the ghost. He has become our second retirement of the race. It did look as if he potentially had a jump start at the beginning, although that may have just been lightning quick reactions, and it didn't end up mattering in the end. I'm having a look back at that incident now. The trouble was they tried to go 4 wide through turn 1 with Hoyer, Panzer, and Walk. And unfortunately, it just was not going to work. So Quinte ended up picking up some damage in that potentially, and he has decided that it's not worth continuing.
Out of the
yes,
race.
And
Canapino, yeah.
So I think there's been a collision. Yes, well, Quinte I was just talking about, but Sixter and Canapino were close on track, so I think that they have had some sort of collision out there. There's even more yellow flags.
Yellow in section 1 now.
Yes, meanwhile, look at the gap that Bach has brought out. 2 seconds out in front now as Brewer's in the pit. So I wonder if he's had another incident out there somewhere, because that's his second time in. And hopefully he's not also giving up the ghost as we speak. And Leon Bach is back alongside Adam Maguire up the inside, and he goes back through into P2. So once again, is Evolution's first and second, and it was almost an inverse repeat of what happened before. Now, Sixter's incident, I'm afraid, was unrelated to Canapino, as he retired due to a connection issue. No surprise there. It seems almost inevitable that Sixter will retire from races nowadays, I'm afraid to say. Then Canapino pulled off to the side of the road and retired by himself, so it was unrelated. Gutting for Fabio Sixter, and Robin Panzer now appears to have given up. So Panzer, we have 4 retirements.
Yeah, it's
5. Sorry, 5.
Yeah, 5 total, including Mark. It's all happened very quickly. That's really unfortunate for Sixter. The day he gets some luck, he should buy a lottery ticket. He can't seem to make it work, can he? I mean, he's got the pace. Don't get me wrong, he was a bit far back in quality today, but we know that he's a good racer. He's a multiple winner. But yeah, he just can't seem to make that. I don't know if it's PC or if it's network connection or what, but really unfortunate for him. And obviously for Panzer, had a good quality as well. It's a shame to see
Maguire's in the
something
pits. Sorry, early pit stop for Adam Maguire here. Very, very early indeed. He comes in and makes his stop. Now, before everything kicks off and we miss a bunch of stuff, I think we may have to restart the broadcast machine here. I'm being told by my broadcast director Szymon. But if that does happen, we will be back in just a few minutes. So as quickly as we possibly can. Szymon, if you could keep me updated on that, please. I think we may be about to restart the stream. So just refresh the YouTube, the GPVWC YouTube page until you see it again. Okay, don't go anywhere. We will be back in just a couple of minutes' time.